what has happened with the advent of people from former colonies and because of intensified globalization is that for the first time in the history of modern Western Europe, you begin to see a religious diversity that Europe has not witnessed before. And the social and institutional arrangements in Europe are not adequate to deal with this diversity. They were adequate only to deal with the problems of a single religion, of accommodating that religion, or to fight against the excesses of that religion. Now you suddenly have multiple religions, and Europe is really at a loss what to do with these religions. European Commission or European Union, that has a much better resource because it has a much more universal perspective. But each society is still bound by its own arrangements, and so they're feeling the strain. There are, I think, internal problems in many, many religions. For example, virtually every religion has problems with women. There is a kind of an anti-feminine bias in almost all religions. It's a problem, it's an internal problem of religions that they have to deal with. And we have to find ways of helping other religious groups to get rid of this problem. What happens is that if you start to raise this issue of how terrible these groups are treating their women, then there is an external threat that they begin to see, these groups. And to meet this external threat, there is a demand that they should close ranks, that they should show that they have a common front. And when that demand is being fulfilled, the most vulnerable sections of these religious communities have to pay the price. So the burden, the unfair burden of sustaining a community in the face of an external threat, that unfair burden is placed upon particularly the women. So they have to sacrifice their emancipatory goals in order to maintain the whole community. So I feel it does really help to, in a derogatory manner, speak about the whole of Islam or the whole of a religious community in terms like they're backward or they are, they all mistreat their women, because ultimately it doesn't help those women. It actually makes their position worse. Somehow those people who speak the loudest, who shout the most, and who create trouble, those are the people that get heard in public and in the state. They become the spokespersons of the whole community. And these are the very people who do not want any internal dissent, they do not want any reforms, they do not want any change, because it is in their interest to keep things exactly as they are, because that's the only way that they can be the leaders of that community. But there are a lot of dissenting voices in the community. There are a lot of, you might say, a lot of democratic forces within the community, a lot of people who think alternatively. They're just silent, or they have a voice, but it's too muted and can get very easily suppressed. And if the state solidly lines up behind them, these forces will become stronger, and one day they will displace these guys, the other guys who are only screaming and shouting and who have no real issues. Basically, they're responsible for the continuation of the stereotypes and the prejudices that a lot of the people have against these minority communities. So I think the intellectuals can play a very important role, and the state, and they can put pressure on the state to help those people who are fighting the orthodoxy within their communities, rather than help orthodoxy keep the communities as they are, simply because the state finds it easier to deal with them, right? I think once these changes begin to take place, you will see a very different form of Islam. You will see that many of the Muslims are really interested in the same kind of issues as most, non-Muslim Europeans do. They also want a better job, they want to improve their material condition, they want education, they want to live a life of dignity, they want to live an ordinary life, they want proper schooling, they want to be properly employed. These are the issues that matter to them as well. Most ordinary people want these issues to be resolved, and instead of attacking those problems, we seem to be talking about something which I won't say is unreal. It is very real, and it has very real consequences. But it's in the scale of importance for the Muslims themselves. I don't think they would put that much importance on them. But they are forced to put more importance to them. It's like all the forces are kind of converging on pressurizing them to choose only this option. And I think this stalemate can be broken. It can be broken by people who have no vested interests of their own, but who are thinking about the larger society, about everybody in the larger society, about all citizens, and not just a section of the citizens. Once they start thinking about everybody, I think it would be possible to change things around.